Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how I make my ribs. Now this is the method my dad taught me. He got the idea from Alton Brown from the Food Network, and the rib rub recipe that I'm using, try saying that a bunch of times fast. The rib rub recipe that I have used today is my own recipe that was also inspired by the Food Network, and I will leave both my recipe and the link to the original recipe I used for inspiration in the description box below. This method goes as a dry rub method that we add liquid to, then we cook low and slow. Once it comes out, we let the meat rest. We take the leftover liquid from the cooking process, reduce it, glaze the meat with it, which I will show you how to do. Then we serve it. Good time, right? Everything we do in the last part of the process is going to be real quick. The beginning part is really slow. There's a lot of waiting time. Now I'm going to show you how to make the rib rub. Our ingredients for our rib rub, this is a recipe that I made up myself based on the original recipe from the Food Network and just alterations I chose to make over time. So we have a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, a tablespoon each of cumin, smoked paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, chili powder, crushed red pepper, and actually the crushed red pepper is just under a tablespoon. It's not quite a tablespoon. It's almost like 2.5 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, and a teaspoon each of white and black pepper. Now, to make this, I'm going to just throw all of these lovely ingredients, doesn't matter in what order, into here, and then we're going to mix this. So get all your spices thrown in there and give it a stir, mix it thoroughly. Now our rub is mixed and we're gonna put that to the side. Now we're gonna get our pan ready to make these ribs, and the first thing you're gonna need is really good heavy-duty aluminum foil. Regular aluminum foil is okay, but you'll end up using 2 or 3 times as much because of rippage and whatnot. So you want good heavy-duty aluminum foil. We got gorgeous rack of ribs. Now the first thing that you want to do when you're making a rack of ribs, besides take it out of the package of course, is there's gonna be this piece of tissue back here, rubbery tissue. You're gonna want to rip that off. It's just some connective tissue, and it won't soak up any flavor at all, and when you cook it, it'll just be like rubbery, like you don't need it. So we're gonna pull it off, and it'll also make it so that once you cook it, the ribs will just fall right off the bone. So let's put out our aluminum foil. Now I always double sheet my aluminum foil with one that's closer to the size of the ribs, because when we add our liquid, which I'll get to in a little bit, we don't want it to spill everywhere. We want to be able to keep, all of that moisture in there. Okay, so now we've got this lovely rack of ribs here. And we're going to rip this piece of tissue off. This is the connecting tissue I was telling you about. So all of this connective tissue here is going to have to come off. Oh, there we go. See, I got most of it off. I got all that connective tissue off. So now I'm going to take my lovely rib rub and coat my ribs with it. And then I'm going to show you how to wrap the foil up, and then we're going to stick it in the fridge for 2 hours. All right, so now we're going to coat it. Liberally coat the entire rib rack, because this is going to make a very, very flavorful barbecue sauce when we're done. Okay, and if you have some left over, you can save that for a rack of ribs later on. Okay, yeah, look at that, isn't that pretty? We got this thoroughly coated, so we are going to wrap this up. And you're going to wrap it up really tight on one side only. Okay, so this side right here, I'm gonna make nice and tight. We wanna make sure that when we get to the point, very little liquid escapes. I mean, there's no way that some liquid won't escape, but we wanna keep it as minimal as possible. This side we'll leave open. Make sure you can see that. Okay, yep. So this side we leave open, and I'm just gonna wrap the second layer exactly like that, but we wanna be able to have a spout, so to speak, to pour our liquid into. Okay, so make this end nice and tight, and this end we'll just loose and give it a fold over, because that will be the side our liquid will go in. Our ribs are ready to go into the fridge, and they're gonna sit in there for a minimum of 2 hours. You can even put these in overnight. It won't hurt them at all. In fact, the flavor will just go into the meat more, but 2 hours is also fine. It will be plenty of time for the meat to soak up some of the flavor, and then we'll add liquid to it. Okay, it's been 2 hours. Time to get our liquid ready. Now, the fun thing about the liquid part is you can really just use whatever you want, like straight down to water and herbs if you want to. My dad in the past has used different kinds of juices, apple juice, orange juice. Now, I'm gonna use cider. Usually I use regular cider. This is down east, and of course alcoholic cider, not the regular stuff. So I'm going to try using a pear cider today, just to change it up, try something different. So let me show you how we do that. Now for our liquid part, we're going to pour this lovely pear cider. And you only need about a cup to a cup and a half, which means 1 12-ounce can is just fine. Then to that, we're going to add some honey. I'm just eyeballing it. There, that looks good. Do I have any idea how much is in there? Nope. I would guess about 1/4 cup's worth, maybe a little more. Yes, I know this is very sweet, and I'm doing it on purpose. So for our spices, we used a little bit of good old Simon and Garfunkel for my inspiration. I'm gonna throw in some parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Again, with these, I'm just eyeballing it. I would guess it's about a teaspoon each. Okay. So, ooh, smells good. All right, so I'm just gonna mix all of this up together, and then I'm going to stick it in the microwave for a few seconds, just so that the honey will melt into the cider. So now we got this all mixed up. I'm going to stick this in the microwave for about 30 seconds. I'm going to preheat my oven. We're gonna do low and slow. So we're looking about 250, 275. I'm gonna put it at 275. It's time for the ribs to come out. There it is, our cider mixed with honey and herbs. Now we're gonna pour all of this into that. All right, so I've got the little spout, and we're just going to pour our cider and honey in there. Oh. All those herbs are left over. I want them in there too. Grab my handy dandy spatula. Nope. There we go. There it is. So we're just gonna fold that back up. Now this whole thing is gonna go into the oven low and slow. So we're cooking at about 275 degrees for a few hours. At that point, we will be pulling it out, letting the meat rest, and then we have to start working quickly, because I'm sure you noticed that when I was putting the rub on, there's a lot of sugar in the rub. And then I made the liquid, and there was a lot of sugar from the honey in the liquid. We're gonna have to work fast during the second part because of all that sugar. We don't want to burn it, but I'll show you how to do that when we get there. If you're enjoying this video so far, give me a thumbs up. In the meantime, we're going to put this in the oven, and I will be back for it in a couple of hours. It's time to take the ribs out. The ribs are out. It has been about 2 hours and 10 minutes-ish. Don't try this at home with bare hands. I have kitchen hands. Okay, there's one there. Woo! Look at the steam coming off that. We have our saucepan, and we're going to pour. Oh, we'll get Joey out of the shot. We're going to pour the liquid from our ribs into the saucepan so I can reduce it. We're only doing this as a two-man job for stabilization purposes. Generally speaking, I can do this on my own. But in the words of Winnie the Pooh, it's friendlier with two. Here goes. Thank you. You're welcome, baby. So now we're going to reduce our sauce. We're going to try to reduce it by about half. And all that means is we're going to cook it down to reduce the amount of water in it. So we're just going to stir this a few times, and when it's reduced, we'll start the glazing process. Now, while our sauce is reducing, let's open those ribs up and see what we have. Ooh, look at that. So pretty. Oh, babe, these are lovely.
You're lovely.
And I haven't even glazed them yet. So we have our sauce is reduced now by about half, and we're just about ready to start the glazing process. So I'm going to start by putting on the broiler. High broiler is fine. You want to keep the rack, the one just below, not the highest rack. Our sauce that we've just reduced. Again, remember, lots of brown sugar in there, lots of honey in there, so lots of sugar in there. And what about sugar? Sugar easily burns. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pour some of the liquid, not a lot, some of the liquid over our meat. We're going to put it into the oven under the broiler for about 30 to 45 seconds, no more than a minute, because we don't want to turn it black. I mean, unless you do want a little char on there, then you can leave it under there for an extra few seconds. That's entirely on you. We don't char in this house if we can help it. So, okay, so that's our first little layer of liquid. We'll get that all on there. Okay. Now, I'm going to put that down as much as I can. Now, I may end up smelling some burn because there's some sugar on the edges, but that's okay. So we're gonna put this into the broiler, and then we're going to watch the second hand on my clock, which is over there. Okay, we've got about 15 seconds left. And that brings us to 45. And there it is. This is the first round of glazing. As you can see, there's still some sauce left in there, but it is reduced a lot from where I first poured it in to the saucepan. I'm going to just repeat this action until all the sauce in the saucepan is done, and I'll show you when we're finished. The ribs have come out of the oven and they are finished. As you can see, yeah, it was really time consuming, but because of the way they're made, you can change it up as much as you want. From the liquid you use to the spices you use. You can make your ribs different every single time if you want to. Instant Pot has brown rice, which is going to be my side dish for tonight. And this is the cover to my Dutch oven, and I have found that this is the most wonderful thing to serve my ribs on because of the fact that it's cast iron. It keeps them nice and hot. So I'm going to cut it between the 7th and 8th rib, which is about half. Okay. Whew. Now I'm going to take my rack of ribs. Oop, see? And cutting them in half. Look how lovely they fit on there. And there. Boom. Now, I'm going to take some of the liquid from my pan here and pour it back over the top just to make it really pretty. Oop. Okay, the rest of the sauce is going to be put into a dish, which I'm going to put on the table so if anybody wants more sauce, they can have it. But it looks like dinner's ready.
Okay, so for those of you that missed it, I said, baby, the bones are already falling out. And rib, twist, out. It's really good. It's sweet, but it's not overpoweringly sweet, and it doesn't taste like it's been doused in barbecue sauce. It's very tender. Clearly I pulled the bones out, and I'm just holding a giant chunk of meat that I can just devour as is, like a caveman.
I'm gonna wrap it up. And we're gonna say that's it for this video. Bye!
Bye, folks!
Thank you for watching. Hey, want to subscribe? You can click on the purple Christmas tree. Not sure you want to subscribe yet? You want to see more content first? You can click on this video over here. Until next time, take care and be safe.